Hi, my name is Sue. Normally I post on a blog, but I'm going to try something different and basically read something aloud. I hope I hope it helps. Things will not go back to normal, and that's okay. Everyone's talking about what will happen when things go back to normal, and they're looking at it as if it could happen and as if it would be a good thing. Things will never be normal again, at least not the normal most people are thinking about. They can't. The fallout after this crisis is going to take more than mere cleanup. First, we have to look at how we define normal or what we think normal is. It's in the dictionary, it's conforming to a standard, a usual, a typical, or expected, or of course, the usual, average, or typical state or condition. The thought of going back to anything is not very forward thinking. And the status quo, the existing state of affairs, the normal, has already changed. The usual right now, at least for non-essential workers, is focused in fear, anticipation, toilet paper, and the unfortunately named social distancing. That is what's normal, at least for right now. And therein lies part of our problem. When we look at right now, it's with an expectancy of things changing. But when we look at what's normal, we ignore the possibility of it. They say the more things change, the more they remain the same, right? This means normal is change, and change is normal. And therefore, what's not normal is normal. Everything is always changing. You can't grow without changing. We see that first in the need for bigger shoes. You can't experience anything in life without some type of transformation. Problem is, we have a habit of focusing on the routine of jobs and scheduled activities to maintain a belief in a steady existence. And we bitch about the daily grind the whole way while not noticing that change is happening always, all around us. This is why kids grow up so fast. We're so busy looking at the same old, that we miss it. We just miss it. Change happens all the time. We are just not paying attention. What we define as normal is a pretense. It's a game we play to instill a sense of continuity, to find comfort in something familiar. Yet even in that comfort zone, we look ahead for better times. And that's exactly what we are doing right now. We are looking ahead for better times. The only thing different with this now moment is that every single one of life's possibilities, probabilities, and certainties, like marriages, births, agings, promotion, graduations, job loss, personal transformation, economic crisis, sickness, and death, is happening all at once in a concentrated form and accelerated motion to everyone in the world at the same time. This is normal, but at Mach speed. And there's nowhere to run for any of us. As fast as everything is moving around us, we feel like we're stuck at home in enforced inactivity, feeling like we have no control over anything. And that's not true. It just feels that way. We are in control of the one thing we have always had control over, and the one thing we will always have control over, and that's ourselves, individually. This seems like a hard lesson for most of us, but we are in the prime position to fully realize what it means to be in control of ourselves. And once we realize that, we will begin to see how taking care of ourselves is the first step to positively affecting everything that's around us without the need to exert any direct control. Think about what you focused on before. Was keeping up with the Kardashians really important? Does it matter to you right now? Is that what will make your immediate situation better? We are all in this together. We have to recognize that. This virus is equal opportunity and non-discriminatory, and not in the hypocritical, limited, unequal, and discriminatory way we always use those phrases, but in their truest senses. No one is exempt, not from the virus itself, nor the effects of this pandemic, not in any corner of the world. 3 weeks ago, only 63 of the world's 195 countries had not declared known cases. As of last week, that number was down to 15. But the lack of a formal declaration does not negate the likelihood of contamination. We know that some countries are secretive. We know that some countries deal with their own forms of oppression. We know that testing supplies are lacking. And we also know that some of the countries are only willing to report the most dire cases. What this means is that the countries that haven't acknowledged it publicly just haven't acknowledged it publicly. Sort of like I can hide my scars, but it doesn't mean they're not there. Right now, we are being given a world view of true equality. It doesn't matter what language you speak, what color your skin is, your gender identity, your sexual orientation, your political views, your fame, your wealth, your poverty, your social standing, your marital status, your religious views, your agnostic views, your skill set, your educational experience, your abstinence, your geographical location, your current state of health, your age, your weight, your size, your living conditions, your hair color, or any other foolish excuse we use to draw lines between us. Do you understand that yet? We are all in this together, all of us, because we are the same. With the complete and total scope of this pandemic, we have two choices. We can look at the entire problem all at once and get overwhelmed, or we can focus on the moment. Isn't it ironic that it takes a past, present, and future problem to learn the importance of right now? Most of us are wavering somewhere between being overwhelmed and focusing on the moment, and that's understandable. We may not have expected life to be all roses, but we probably didn't expect all the shit to hit all the fans all at once. Life itself is continuing. The waking up, the breathing, the days passing. But with this current situation, we are forced to confront not just life's transient nature, but the speed at which things can change. That gives us a new focus on the idea of time. Right now, the only thing dividing any of us is whether or not we are considered an essential or non-essential worker. The essential workers seem to have the benefit of a steady income, but they are now in more dangerous jobs. The non-essential workers are losing money, but their health is slightly more guaranteed. Neither side is in a good position. Health and resources are needed for survival, and neither side has both. The tipping point on whose side might be more favorable is the aspect of time. Non-essentials have been gifted with time. For us to be able to see anything positive during this world situation, we have to look at it that way, as a gift. Unfortunately, we still have trouble appreciating the value of time when survival is threatened. Time can be a light in the darkness, but even a light if you are the deer caught in the car's headlights and frozen in the middle of the road. It can feel like we are living in a non-reality. What we looked at to be solid ground beneath our feet is breaking apart, and it looks like nothing firm to stand on. The first action we take after the initial deer in the headlights shock will be to get ourselves standing upright on the firmest spot we can. In those initial moments of panicked movement and tension, we rush to ensure that immediate needs are taken care of as we hole up in our safest spots. Once we are as settled as best as we can, only then do we look up and around. Now what? And it hits us. Nothing is the same as it was. Every single thing we usually did and usually took for granted became options no longer easily available to us. And we are forced to define what a priority is. Think about it. In the space of 1 week, toilet paper became more important than food. Now what? We ourselves, as individuals, are our own greatest resource and the only thing we have control over. This global concern has left us alone with ourselves, and we need to take advantage of what we still have left. First, we need to focus on appreciation. There is always something to appreciate in everything. How else do we see what we don't like? And don't worry, no one is expecting you to No one is expecting you to commit that this situation is not bad. It is a bad situation, but that doesn't mean you can't admit that there are some silver linings. How many of you are tired? Take a nap. You have time. How many of you are stressed? Stop. Stop. Drink a cup of tea. Meditate. Take a walk. Read a book. Listen to music and recharge yourself. You have the time. While you can't go about your normal activities, you have the time you've been saying all along that you didn't have. How many of us didn't stay up late on a school night or a work night because we knew we'd be paying for it the next day? How many of us didn't read a book? How many of us didn't steal time because we knew that we would have to make up for it on the back end? We're not worried about that now. Right now, we pretty much have nothing but time, and take it. Make the most of it. Don't pressure yourself to learn a new language or something along those lines. The people that push the idea that that kind of productivity is easy may have forgotten that their initial needs of survival have already been met. Everybody's personal situation is different. You will not be able to accomplish anything like that until you are motivated to. And when your way of life is threatened, you are only motivated to try and secure that. Creative motivation will come once you're feeling better. Then try something new just for the simple pleasure of it and not because you feel shamed into it. Healthy dealing with the changes of our now existence relies on changing our perspective on it. But like when we were in school, we went on field trips. Some of them were fun and some of them were educational, and educational meant boring. Half of us would complain about the boring field trip, and the rest of us would celebrate that we were not sitting in class. This is the same situation. Whether or not you can find something to appreciate any of it depends on your perspective. Obviously, the actual reach of the virus in your immediate environment will determine your perspective and shape your priorities, but there are still things to be grateful for despite the harsh circumstances. Our entire world has been derailed. The tracks we were riding on are too damaged. We have to get off the train now while new tracks are laid, and they'll possibly be on an altered course. Is that a bad thing? Had we been completely happy with the ride as it was? We as a world could not make a decision together on how to handle the extreme problem of school shootings, and our battles had a limited focus on the total scope of the cause behind them. Our kids are out of school now, and they're safe, and now we have the time to give genuine thought towards an actual solution and preventative measures. Depression and mental health, an equal and largely ignored part of the school shootings debate, has been brought to the forefront as we are forced to face our own feelings in isolation. Even those of us who consider ourselves to have no mental issues cannot have full effects of being overwhelmed and how it affects us. Individual cities and states have been battling increased road traffic situations. This is a problem that needs to be handled by more than just lawmakers, but it has to include the people and the businesses around together, working on a multi-part solution that can include things like remote working and changing hours, instead of the common fallback of financially penalizing the general public that uses these roadways to get to work. Now many companies are being forced to change how they operate, and the roads are empty, except for essential employees. And our definition of who is essential also has changed. Weren't we just close to being at war with another country? How dire was that situation on either side that it was possible to have been shelved while we started focusing on needs closer to home? Cities and towns were being gentrified at the expense of the residents who were being forced out of communities because the new standard of gentrification is way above the majority of the general population's income level. Self-contained communities were being built that negated the very idea of community. And that smaller margin of people that would have been enticed to bring larger amounts of money to a location are now staying home. Priorities are being rearranged. Even pious religious judgment could be put aside by the parent whose gay or transgender child is facing death from COVID-19, a virus that attacks everybody equally? And what of the gay or transgender medical and mental health workers who are working hard to ensure everyone's health? Are you going to slap their hand away if they are offering one in assistance? Our new celebrities are those people who are working to help, heal, support, and comfort others. Nobody's makeup and Photoshop hacks can accomplish that, nor will it save anyone who's ill. The standard school system is being forced to change also. History will now be written and taught a little more accurately because more people are writing it as it's happening and fewer people are being forced into silence. People are turning in droves to the arts for comfort, healing, and recharging, proving to the educational system the importance of the music and the arts programs, especially for mental health across the board. The importance of teachers, the true teachers, has become highlighted. The art of teaching is being forced to be what it should be, exposure to real learning, rather than what is turned into basic mechanical regurgitation by those willing to do more, but whose hands have been tied more and more by silly and faulty societal norms and other social climbing agendas. Those who want to learn will be offered more opportunity when the educational system that is supposedly in place for all is forced to become less of a money game. The issue of homelessness is becoming very real concern for a growing majority. There but for the grace of God go I is now less of a trite phase, as many people are out of work and worried about the financial stability. The elderly have largely been left out of consideration by the establishment. How many of them lead isolated lives just because they were put in homes and everyone else has moved on? Now we know how they feel. These are only some of the problems we've been dealing with. There are many more, yet we looked at all of them as normal. Is that something we want to go back to? Unfortunately, all of them are being refocused under our current worldview. Our societal structures, the modes, the standards, the institutions are essentially closed, but we can look at it as being closed for renovation. This is a good thing. Our problems haven't stopped. They haven't gone away, but they've been tabled in such a way that we now can take the time, and we have the time to work them out. The capacity for compassion is increasing because the lines between the homeless and the homed, religious and agnostic, men and women, LGBTQ and straight, black and white, and Democrat or Republican are being blurred. Each side is noticing ways to relate to the other side on a human level, blurring the lines between them. Once the lines get blurred, battles are moot. For the longest time, our focus has been on collectives like religious groups, political parties, genders, and haves and have-nots, rather than the individuals that make up the collectives. The quarantines and stay-at-home orders and all that have been forcing environments of self-isolation have put the focus back on the individual person. And as individuals, each one of us are in a position to fix the problems that we collectively have been dealing with by working on that presumed lowest common denominator, ourselves. Now that the initial rush is over, we are learning new ways to support ourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially from a perspective that has largely been held as being selfish, while learning that there is a benefit to being selfish. We are relearning to take only what we need without hoarding and doing the best with what we have. That will aid us both individually first and then collectively together. It starts with the individual and the individual idea. Necessity has always been the mother of invention. We haven't done too much of significant value lately because we haven't felt a need and instead settled into a familiar status quo. Now there is no status quo, at least not the way we looked at it before, and our needs have changed. Nothing is normal, but that's okay. What can we do? First, we can take care of our own physical and mental health. Without either, we are not in a position to help anyone else. That includes going easy on yourself. Give yourself a break. Give yourself some downtime. Fuck off a bit. and allow yourself time to grieve, because we are grieving right now. We are grieving the passing of the norm. We are grieving the loss of what was all at once, and also dealing with our friends and loved ones being sick. Give yourself time to grieve. Allowing yourself to recharge is a top priority. Feel your emotions and make peace with them. There is no wrong way to feel in these times. There is also no wrong way to parent, to be a parent in these times. Don't fall under a belief or presumption that you have to perform as a parent anyway, or that you have to put pressure on the children, especially when you can't even successfully put that same pressure on yourself effectively. We've already condemned the kids enough for not living the childhoods we lived, even though they live in a different world. None of us have a clue yet of what kind of world we have to prepare them for. And remember, with the kids out of school right now, we're not just their teachers, we are their guidance counselors. Let that sink in. We have to get our own shit together first. Relearn who you are. It's not as hard under these conditions when ideas of peer status and propriety have gone out the window. You'll begin to see that your need for keeping up with the Joneses had more to do with insecurity and fear than your own life preferences. When you're alone with yourself, who do you need to impress? We're scrambling to rebuild and need to make sure that even our smallest nails can withstand the hammer, and we have the time to do this. Realize your own importance in the food chain. It is said that the best way to feel better is by putting your arm around someone else who needs it more. Even with limited by-the-minute resources, you still have something of value to give, your time. Reach out to those who need to hear a friendly voice, a good word, or a song to lift their spirits. Like the idea behind prayer, many minds can come together with positive and powerful thoughts. Love is an emotion, and that's energy in motion. It cannot be physically touched. Therefore, it can still be spread without physical contact faster than any virus. And while it can't be touched, it can be felt. By reaching out the best way we can to each other, we are reestablishing the value of community and family and relearning our strengths together. This will force changes in the establishment. And pay attention, the establishment has already noticed the beginnings of its own self-implosion. How many individual cities and states began making their own decisions outside of the federal government regarding virus control? The back end of this global crisis is a complete upset of complacency and the status quo. All of our systems are upside down right now. Our new heroes are the people that help people in any way. The medical and mental health professionals, the teachers, and every single individual who is a part of making healing and happiness happen. The color of your collar no longer matters. We have more power and control by working together. Remember and be aware of your own importance as an individual first and part of a group second. Do what you can with what you have and take care of yourself so that you are able to be the change and part of the changes you want to see. We are not at war. This is not a war. We do not even have a common enemy. COVID-19 is a catalyst that is causing a wide range of challenges for everyone. When we eliminate the idea of an enemy, we eliminate the need to blame, and we can stop wasting time on it. The effects of the challenges caused are not the same for everyone, and everyone must deal with them individually. Are we sensing a theme here? Take care of you, all of you, so that we can take care of all of this together. If you need a comfort zone of something that you can call normal, always be consistently you, and you can hold on to that because that will be normal. Once you get your bearings, look around you. Take joy in the simple pleasures available. See how many people are trying to help in so many ways. Listen to the music, share the laugh, sing, be. Restoring your faith in yourself will restore your faith in the world and your ability to feel like an active part in it. We have continuously put pressure on ourselves to do. Keep doing. Do the best you can with what you have right now, because now is the time to be. Be you, be safe, be mindful, and be kind. And know that everything will be all right. Thank you.